Good afternoon. Like most people in the world, I was not born into a family of privilege. As a matter of fact, I observed my mother, a single parent, work 3 jobs. In the morning and the afternoon, she worked for the state. In the evening, she worked for a retail company. And at night, my sister and I would join her in cleaning medical buildings. I learned some things about life very early from my mother's struggle. And one of those things was that life was never easy. It was not going to be easy for anyone. And if you really wanted something, you would have to get out with good work ethic, and you would have to really strive to do something different to make your life differently. I've also, over the past few years, been working with people who have come to me and asked me, how do I make a change in my life? What I found is that they're looking for something different professionally or relationally or financially, and they want to have different ideas and different things happen in their life, but they don't know where to begin. I also know people who are like my mother would say, they're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and so they're ready for a change because they're tired of things being the same way that they have been. What I have found, along with my own personal experience, is that whenever somebody is really ready for a change, there is no stopping that person. It's quite interesting that sometimes we have to ask ourselves the question, what makes a person decide that they are ready to make a change? What is it that makes that person get off of the comfort bus and get onto this road of uncertainty to say, I want something different in life? And they know that it's going to come with a sacrifice. They know that it's not going to be easy, but yet they're still on the inside saying, I have got to do something different. I have to change the narrative of my life. Many people that are born into poverty remain that way. But for me, I had to think my unthinkable was going to be something totally different because I didn't want to remain in poverty. I didn't want to remain in a state where we were struggling to pay bills. I really wanted to have a life that would be a little bit easier in some ways. I had to have something different. What I found is that there's this pattern that I see with people who are really wanting a change. And one of those patterns is that they start to internalize the desires that they have, and it starts to become evident on the outside. So there's a pattern of internal and external factors that present itself so that the person can make a change in their lives. When things start to change on the inside of you, they start to change all around you. I see people that are making life changes, and I look at that and I wonder what made them really desire to change. Well, we all know what BFFs are, right? You have a BFF? I have a BFF. I'm always quite social. I have several BFFs. I have BFF from my hometown, I have BFF at work, BFF in my head. You know, I met Oprah one time and Gail was there, and I was like, Oprah's really my BFF, Gail. Get out of the way. But actually, BFF is somebody you can go to, you can talk to, you can run things through. But this BFF is what I believe is what helps us to make a change. And the BFF is a little bit different because it's not a person, but it's internal. It's inside. It's what you decide. It's my belief. It's my focus and my function. And so what I want to talk to you today is about these 3 elements. What is it that you believe? How do you focus? And then where's your function? Those 3 things can drive you to make a change on the inside that will be completely unthinkable so that your life's narrative doesn't look like the way it started. Let's start with the beliefs. Your belief system is the invisible force that drives your behavior. So matter of fact, if you're making a big decision today, your belief system is functioning. It's at work. It's working overtime to help you to make this decision. Where are they coming from? Well, over our lives, we accumulate thousands of beliefs. We get them when we're young. We hear things that people have said. We read things. We learn. We experience things. All of these things come together to create this system of beliefs. Sometimes we have affirmation for those, and it's like, yes, and it affirms exactly what we thought. But then sometimes we don't get the affirmation, and we wonder, is it right? Then our experiences go on top of those beliefs that we have already begun to develop, and they either affirm or they confirm it or they cancel it. And so we begin to network altogether the system of what you really believe to understand how to make a decision. More than anything else in your life, more than your natural tendencies and more than your instincts and your habits, your belief system is what helps you to make decisions. In fact, your beliefs are the ones that determine what your life's outcome is. How do I know that? Because your beliefs drive your behavior drives your actions, and your actions show your outcomes. So it all begins with your beliefs. Well, I started to think about this. Actually, let me go back to this. I started to think about this, and I have an aunt who said to me once, she says, Mia, you have any travel coming up? And I said, oh, yes, Auntie, I'm going to Greece. My aunt, who's in her 70s, she said, oh, no, not Greece. And I thought, why? Oh, no. And I began to realize that she and I have different belief systems about travel. She was in a time when travel, particularly international travel, was really very laborious. And, it was a long trip. It was hard to make. And then going to a foreign place where you don't know anybody and having to eat foreign food, who knows what you're going to eat? And me, I'm on the other hand, I'm like, hey, they make these airline seats that turn into beds. I catch up on my sleep. I can watch a movie I hadn't seen. I'm going to go somewhere and meet new people that I've never met before. And, with our connected world, I'll always find something I like to eat. So our belief system was very different. I also began to realize for myself that I had some beliefs, especially as a younger girl, that limited my life. I had some beliefs that were keeping me from doing the things that I desired to do. The college I wanted to go to. Oh, it was just out of state. It was too far. What if we had a crisis? What if I didn't have any money? What if I got stuck and couldn't get back home? Oh, what am I going to do? And I started to realize that my beliefs were being rooted in fear. And for some people, when you make those decisions, it's based in fear. You begin to self-sabotage the opportunities that can present in your life. If fear is one side, then comfort is another side. Because guess what people tell me all the time? I didn't want to do it because I didn't know what to expect. I know what to expect on my day-to-day, but when it's something that's different, I don't know what to expect. Sometimes those things start to disturb me in some ways because the truth is that we never know what to expect. But when we have the fear of the unknown, we never move forward. I thought about it and I said, think about what you're thinking about. And I thought I made that up. I thought it was kind of cute, right? Think about what you're thinking about, girl. But I realized that psychologists call this metacognition, to be aware of your thoughts. Think about what you think about. Think about the things that are holding you back. Think about the things that are keeping you from progressing forward. Think about the things that are limiting you and keeping you in the status quo and saying to you that you'll never be great or you'll never be better or you never can go do this. Think about the things that you think about. Our beliefs are rooted sometimes in truths. Sometimes they're rooted in falsities, but we create them as norms for our life and we accept them in that manner. And sometimes they can be very wrong. Think about what you think about. I went snow skiing. The first time I went, the only time I went, the instructor was giving us this whole list of elements of things to remember, right? So don't do this, don't do that, do this, do this. And the last thing he says to us is when you get close to the exit, you're going to see this little red shack. And then he says, but don't hit it. And then he laughed. And I was like, oh. I didn't hear anything else he said after that. Which way was the exit? All I heard was, don't hit the little red shack. Well, sure enough, after 2 hours of getting down and falling down, getting back up, over and over, I was exhausted. I was really ready to get off the slopes. And so we're heading towards the exit. And I'm like, okay, exit this way. And so we're going that direction. And I'm coming down the ski slope, right? And I realize I'm going too fast. So as soon as I realize I'm going too fast, what I'm supposed to do, how to slow down, all of these rules are running through my head. And right in my vision, I see the little red shack. And I'm like, oh no, not the red shack. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, keep your weight. Don't fall. Don't cross your skis. Don't do this. Don't do that. And sure enough, I couldn't stop myself. I hit that little red shack. Proud of it. 2 days later, I'm still nursing the concussion, and I'm thinking to myself, how did I hit the little red shack? I came to realize it was part of my BFF. It was my internal code. It started to mess with my mind because I focused on it. I didn't focus on the exit. I focused on the little red shack. I'm telling you today that if you're trying to do something different, that thing that you're focusing on is exactly where you're going to go. If you start focusing on keeping your concentration in one particular area, whether it's good or whether it's bad, that's what's going to drive you. So you have to think about what you're thinking about. Now, if the focus isn't enough, then your function is another thing. I like this. I don't know if Einstein actually said it, but I saw this in a bank building the other day. And it says, if you do what you always did, you're going to get what you always got. Right? If we keep repeating the same thing over and over and expecting different results, we'll never see the different results. We'll keep getting the same thing we've been doing over and over. Your function is the activity that goes behind your focus. What are you going to do differently? How are you going to see change in your life? What steps will you need to take to educate yourself, to prepare yourself for that new position, to develop your mindset, to get your life ready if you're going to be married, to get your finances into a better place? What steps are you going to take? Because there has to be a function that's an actionable step that you have to take that goes right after when you start to focus. You have to do something. And you have to do something different. Well, I started to realize that my BFFs become my internal code. They become my code because they can drive my behavior, and not just my behavior, but they can drive my life's outcomes. My belief, what do I believe? My focus, and my function. What's your unthinkable? I started out telling you about my mother. And what I didn't tell you was that the year that I started high school, my mother, who worked 3 jobs to keep a roof over our head, graduated from college. What I didn't tell you was the year that I graduated from college, my mother then owned 2 properties. She had 2 houses. And I didn't tell you a few years after that, my mother retired from her government job, not state job any longer, but she retired from her government job, moved to California, and rented out her 2 properties because life was that good for her. She had to think through her unthinkable. And it wasn't just for her, but it was for a legacy of our family to realize that each step that you take creates positive gains for the next. And each step that you take, no matter how big or how small, was to celebrate that win in her life. And that's what she did. And I can live an unthinkable life too. Thank you.